welcome to Donald Mackerel Gaming with me, Donald Mackerel, back once again with another weird weekend video where I tend to do pickups during the week, and on the weekend I do something different. This time I'm doing a shout out to a good mate of mine on YouTube, never met him in real life, Tony Fighter 2. I'll put the link to him up here. On top of that, I'll put a link in the comments as well, because this is a video response to Tony Fighter 2. So anybody that watched my live stream last weekend, they'll know that I did Tony Fighter 2's 10 gaming questions, answered that took off like a house on fire. Like, Tony just made 10 questions, tagged 2 YouTube content creators in it, and said, oh, if anybody else fancies it, just have a go, answer it. So me, being the sheep that I am, thought, oh well, I'll have a pop at it. Turned out there was loads and loads of people that did it, so mine sort of got lost in the ether. I'm going to do the same again this week. He's done. I don't like really being a bit of a downer on my channel. I like to try and be positive. I like to try and be happy. But he has done quite a negative subject. But can I make it positive? Let's see. It's, what are your 3 biggest gaming regrets? I'll get straight into my first one, my big one. There is a positive lesson to be learnt from this. Basically, I lived with a lady for around about 11 years, just under 11 years. I had a large collection, a lot larger than what I've got now. I had lots and lots of consoles, lots and lots of games. I had pretty much an entire wall of games. This was back when I was living at my parents' though, so yeah, dated her for 11 years. Sorry, didn't live with her, dated for nearly 11 years. 4 years in, we buy a house together because we decided that's it, we're going to make a go of it. And I'd move all my stuff in. She wasn't happy. She hated me having all my games, all my consoles. She started saying that I spent too much time on the computer and not enough time doing other things. So she gave me an ultimatum. Again, this was years in. We'd have been together about 6 or 7 years at this point. She gave me the ultimatum of either I stop playing basketball, playing in bands and playing on games, or we split up. And I really liked her, so I made the decision to, again, cut off all my music, stop my sport, and on top of that, stop gaming. That wasn't enough though. She said I needed to get rid of it all, as it was now just dead wood. It was taking up space. So I said, oh, okay, I'll do it. I started listing it on eBay and things like that. Again, this is years and years and years ago. Started listing it on eBay. It wasn't selling quick enough for her. So again, she gave me the ultimatum. This is after about 6 months, where she said, if you don't get rid of that by this weekend, I'm dumping you. And I was absolutely gutted. So I just went to a car boot sale. I had stuff priced up at reasonable prices, but car boot sales, it's you get what you get. A lot of people just going, I'll give you £1 or whatever. So it was getting towards the end of the sale, and they were just taking boxes of games for like a £5. I remember I had Panzer Dragoon Saga. I remember I had Guardian Heroes, both Sega Saturn games. Obviously, I had loads of Mega Drive games, like Salil was one of my favourite games of all time. That went. Cosmic Spacehead on the Sega Master System and my Sega Master System. I was allowed to keep 1 console. I was allowed to keep a PS3, and I was allowed to keep 10 games for it. So in my head, it's like, I want to save my relationship. I want to make everything work. So I sold all that. I thought that would fix everything. I thought would be okay. No, a few years down the line, we split up, and I lost everything, but nothing turned out. There was some other stuff going on in the background that I didn't know about, and perhaps she was looking for reasons to get rid of me. So to turn that into, obviously it's a big regret. I regret selling everything. I regret not just standing my ground and saying like, no, this is a part of me. If you don't like it, no. That's what I think we should learn from this is, we are all who we are. We can't change it. And if you're happy being you, don't change yourself for anybody. Like now, I found a lovely partner. She likes everything that I do. Almost everything. She does find me quite annoying, but she puts up with it. There's a lot of give and take. That relationship was very much one-sided. I was young, I was stupid. So yeah, my positive to take away from that one would be yourself. Don't be anybody else. Don't try and change yourself for somebody. It will never work. It will never work, because you'll be unhappy in yourself, which I was. So I'm glad to be myself now, but that is my first and probably biggest gaming regret, is getting rid of my entire collection for pennies, basically. My second gaming regret, can you call it a gaming regret? I suppose you can do. So I went to school in a very small rural place in the 1980s. Computer technology wasn't really a thing when I was growing up, especially when I was a youngster. And by the time I got to my secondary school, it had just about started creeping in. Like they were just about letting people have business lessons on a computer. There was no sort of computing, there was no programming, nothing like that. But if you were doing business, you were allowed to use a computer. Now, I don't want to sound like, oh, woe is me, but I come from a very, very poor family as well. So I remember back when everybody had like Sega Master System, Super Nintendos, my dad, I must have been 11 or 12 years old. My dad went out and he bought for £20 a ZX Spectrum, and it came with just like a few bundled games. I think it had Scrabble and it had chess, but is it Scion, I think they were called. But yeah, Scrabble and chess. Later on, we got the Hungry Horace games. Horace games. There was Hungry Horace Goes Skiing, and Horace and the Spiders. I remember I had, and there was also a little editor thing where you could make your own characters and make them do things. So because I didn't have many games and we didn't have much money, and again, like that was, my mum and dad probably didn't have the money for that, but they still went out and got it for me. It came with a book on, I think it was called Basic programming, ZX Basic. So it taught you how to make your own games. And back in the day, you'd have magazines like Your Sinclair, what was it, Crash, things like that. And sometimes in them, they'd have programs that you could type in and make your own game, and you could save it to a tape and then just play it whenever you wanted. So of course, me being Mr. Curious, I got more and more into programming, started making my own games. I had a good friend of mine, Martin Cooper, who also had a ZX Spectrum. He had the Plus 2 back when I had the 48K. But we started programming together. We made quite a few games. We started hacking. We started hacking games back in the late 80s, early 90s. It was bizarre. Well, yeah, it would have been early 90s. Absolutely bizarre that what we were doing back then. But yeah, so my regret was that in school we never pushed for it. We never pushed to get IT as like part of the things, or programming anything. I remember afterwards I was given the option to stay in sixth form, and they just started doing a computing thing. And I remember the head at the time, I won't name him, the head at the time told me there's no point doing it, it's just a fad, it's silly, it won't lead to anything. He told me to go for something more practical like English or maths or science. I ended up going to a different college. I went to a completely different college. That one I was completely lost. I dropped out of college. I ended up sort of working in factories for years and things like that. A friend I went to school, and again I'm not going to name drop, a friend I went to school with stuck with it. His mum and dad were really supportive, went out, bought him a PC. He now owns his own computer game design company. Yeah, I'm not going to name him. It's quite big. Like he's done big interviews and things like that. I suppose all you've got to do is Google Whitchurch, Shropshire game developer. But yeah, he now has, he's bought his own house outright. He's not rich, but he's doing really, really well. And there's still the likes of me in like dead end jobs, all because I didn't stand my ground. I didn't turn around to people and say, no, this is what I want to do. I love it. I enjoy doing it. And as an offshoot of that, because I was only programming on the Spectrum, I was left behind. So I sort of gave up on it. I remember I tried having to go at coding on a PC. I didn't have a clue. It's completely different. Like literally everything about it, well, not everything about it is different, but there's that many differences that unless you're being taught what you're doing, it's hard to understand what the hell's going on with coding. So yeah, I dropped it. Wish I hadn't done. So my negative would be not following up with my passion, not going into coding, not going into game design. My positive to take away from it is that, again, follow yourself. Don't change yourself. Don't be anybody else. If you want to do something, go out and do it. Obviously, don't bankrupt yourself doing something like that. But if there's a way to do it and you think it's plausible, give it a go. Because the last thing you want to do is be someone approaching their 50s regretting things that they didn't do. So just, yeah, that'd be my positive take from it. give it a go. The worst thing that can happen is you can fail. You can try something else. The third gaming regret. Now this one, it's buying this blooming microphone. I mean, we've all done things in the gaming, and we've all my third gaming regret, and this is a genuine one. It's probably going to mean nothing to anybody out there, but it does hark back to what we just talked about giving up on coding and not really caring about computers or anything anymore. I lost all my passion. I just went into console gaming. So my third one is I spent £120 on this, which I don't know if you can see it, is a Raspberry Pi 4 sort of pre-made emulator thingy. So it looks like an old NES, doesn't it? It's absolutely tiny. So yeah, I spent like 120 quid on that, which to me would be dirt cheap. Turned out back at the time I could have built that for about 60 quid maybe. So fair play to the guy who sold it me. He's gone out, he's made that, and it looks quality, you know, everything worked on it. My regret is that it didn't quite fit my TV screen. Like I moved to a different TV and the edges sort of overlapped slightly. So I thought it was an issue with this. Again, absolutely fine. It's got loads and loads and loads of old consoles on it, all the way from like the old Atari 2600 up to like the PS1, and I think I tried to do Sega Saturn with it, but it didn't really work. But yeah, had loads and loads of PS1 games, loads and loads of ROM hacks, all things like that. Didn't fit my TV screen. So what I did was I went onto the settings and I thought I was changing the display of this, i.e. the size of the display. So when I clicked display, lots and lots of settings came up, and I was like, oh, I don't know what any of these mean. And so I clicked a random setting thinking, well, I'll see if that makes it bigger or smaller or whatever. Screen went black, absolutely black. So I panic. I just sort of go, oh no, come out of that. You know, I press the back button to get out of the menu. I don't know, can't see anything, don't know what's happening, so I'm still just pressing it. There's sound coming from my TV, so I was like, well, it's definitely working, I haven't killed it, and I can hear different things happening when I was pressing left and right. I was like, it's working, the display isn't working because I've changed it, but I can't change it back because I can't blooming see anything. So my regret would be, I suppose it is linked, my regret is not learning about computing enough to A, know what I was doing and what I was mucking about with, and B, how to set it back to how it was. I blooming loved this little thing. So it was how I played all my retro games. Can't do it anymore now. If anybody does know anything about computing and how to mess about with the display on this, please let me know, because it still does work, but I just haven't got a clue what I'm doing. So yeah, my regret is mucking about with things that I didn't know anything about. I think when you get older you get a bit more conservative as well, and not as in voting practices. I mean, you worry too much. You're scared of like ruining things, damaging things. You know, when you're young, you don't care. You're carefree. You have a crack at whatever. If someone says have a go at building a wall, you're like, yeah, I'll give it a go. You get to my age and you're like, oh God, what if I do it wrong? What if I pull my, oh, by the way, I have pulled my back. So what if I pull my back? What if I build a wall and it falls on somebody and I get sued? All these little things start going through your head. So yeah, my big regret is mucking about with one of my favourite, it's not a console, but one of my favourite things to do with gaming, which is my old Raspberry Pi 4 emulator thingy. Mucking about with something that I don't know anything about. What's the positive we can take from that? I suppose it does go back to the second one, which is, you know, again, if you want to learn about something, just go and learn about it. I have tried looking at YouTube videos. I understand what half the lingo means now. I don't know what the hell's going on, but perhaps I might try. Perhaps the positive I'll take from this is it'll give me impetus to, not impotence, that's different. I've already got that now. It'll give me the impetus to, what is wrong with me today? Give me the impetus to get online and start doing a bit of research. Because you will find as well, when you're trying to illegally emulate something, there's not that many regular websites that'll tell you what to do. YouTube videos tend to sort of go missing. It's bizarre that they have to skirt around the emulation. They have to sort of go like, oh, you know, well, the emulation is available and there are sources out there. I can't link them or this video will get taken down. So yeah, I really, really would like to get that up and running again. My positive, I suppose, to be taken from that story is it might give you the impetus to give it a go and get back into learning a little bit about computing. Now I've got some free time on my hands. So if anybody has their little stories, their own little regrets to do, you don't have to have 3. Just if you've got any regrets to do with gaming, or maybe anything positive you've learned from one of your regrets, pop it in the comments below. And if you've got 3, why not do a video response and tag Tony Fighter 2 in it? So that's what I'm doing right now. So anyway, I hope you've all had a little bit of fun watching this. I hope you're all laughing at me, the stupid old man who doesn't know how to get the blooming visuals back on this. Oh my god, what am I? I'm an idiot. And also, yeah, be yourself. Be yourself. You can't be anybody else. You might as well be yourself. I've been Donald Mackerel, I suppose. This has been Donald Mackerel Gaming. See you all again soon. Cheers, everyone.